To configure lead matching in the classifier, the first thing we need to do is set some criteria to identify which records match. These are called matching and duplicate rules. Matching rules determine how duplicate records are identified. You need to create these first as the duplicate rules are based off them. Matching and duplicate rules are configured in Salesforce Setup. First, click on Data and then Duplicate Management. This is where you set up all the rules needed for lead matching. The classifier can check for lead matches with accounts, contacts, or other leads. You need to have a matching rule for each. Salesforce provides standard matching rules that we can use. These will normally be sufficient for lead matching. However, if you'd like to customize how matches are identified, you can choose to create your own rules. To do this, you click on New Rule, and then you choose the object to which your rule applies, which is the object you want to match new leads to. As you can see, I've already set up some rules for leads, accounts, and contacts. The setup is the same for each, so I'll just jump into one and show you how it's done. The first thing you need to do is give your rule a really clear title so you can recognize it when you need to use it. In this case, I've called it Account Matchup. Likewise, set a description so you know what it does. In this case, it identifies leads that match to accounts. Next up, you're choosing the fields that you'll check for matches against. You may notice that for some of these, there's an option for fuzzy matching. This is a great tool to use if you have messier data, such as phone numbers in different formats or different versions of company names, such as Inc. and Incorporated. The final thing to mention here is you can determine the logic on these criteria. By default, the logic is AND. However, you may want to have a match on company name and at least one other field so you can update the logic accordingly. Once you're happy with your setup, just click Save, and then you need to remember to activate the rule. Otherwise, it won't be available for inclusion in the duplicate rule we're about to create. Duplicate rules identify what happens when a user views a record with duplicates or starts creating a duplicate record. I'm just going to remind you at this point that you need to have already created your matching rules to set these up. To set up your duplicate rule, you just click on New Rule, and then you'll select Lead. I'm going to show you one that I've created earlier. You need to give it a clear title, so you know which rule to select later on in our lead matching setup. In this case, lead matching rule and a clear description so you know what it does. This one is flagging where new leads match with existing accounts, contacts, or other leads. Next up, you're specifying what happens when a user tries to save or create a duplicate record. You're going to allow them to do this, otherwise you won't be able to create related leads, accounts, or contacts. I'm going to choose only to report on this, not alert, as alerting can get a bit annoying. Next up, you're identifying which matching rules your duplicate rule contains. Duplicate rules can contain up to 3 matching rules, one each for leads, accounts, and contacts. You can see here that you can choose to use the Salesforce matching standard rules or the rules that we've created. It will also tell you the criteria in each rule. Finally, you have the option to specify conditions that a record must reach in order for this rule to be run. I'm going to select that the distribution engine classifier status must equal matching. This means it will only fire during our classifier trigger. At the end, you need to click Save once you're happy with the setup. Remember to activate it, otherwise it won't be available for the remainder of our lead matching setup. Thanks for watching, and please continue to the next video in the Learning Lab for the next stage of lead matching setup. If you'd like to learn more about matching and duplicate rules, I've included a link to the Trailhead module in the description.